In this video we will learn how to calculate with fractions. So first we start with the simplest calculation with fractions, which is multiplication of fractions. If you want to multiply fractions, that's very easy. You just multiply the top numbers and multiply the bottom numbers. The top numbers, 3 and 4, are also called numerators, and the bottom numbers are also called denominators. So we just multiply 3 times 4, which is 12, and then 7 times 5, which is 35, and that's it. That's multiplication of fractions. We can also multiply a fraction with a whole number. For example, 3/7 times 5. If we do that, we just convert the whole number, the integer, to a fraction. We can make it 5 divided by 1. Now we have again two fractions that we multiply, and we do that just as we did before. 3 times 5, which is 15, and 7 times 1, which is 7. You can also make that a little bit easier just by multiplying 3 and 5 and keeping the 7. That would have the same result. The next thing that we do is dividing fractions. For example, 3/7 divided by 4/5. So dividing is similar to multiplying, but we first have to make the inverse value of the second fraction. So the first fraction, we leave it as it is, 3/7, and then we multiply by the inverse value. That means instead of a divided by, we say times, and then 5/5 instead of 4/5, we have 5/4 equals, and then we continue as we are used. 3 times 5 is 15, and 7 times 4 is 28, and that's it. Now, just as with multiplication, we can also divide a fraction by a whole number, like this, 3/7 divided by 5. Again, the same procedure. We just convert the 5 into a fraction, 5 wholes, and then multiply with the inverse value. Instead of 5, we have 1/5. And then top number times top number, and bottom number times bottom number, and that's it. So if we divide a whole number by a fraction like this, then we do the same. So first, converting the whole number into a fraction, and then multiplying with the inverse value. We always make the inverse value of the second fraction, never of the first. So the first stays the same, but then we multiply with the inverse value, which is 7/3, and then, as usual, 5 times 7 and 1 times 3, and that's it. That is division of fractions. Adding and subtracting of fractions is a little bit more difficult. We start with an easy example, 5/3 plus 8/3. Now, if you add or subtract fractions, it is important that the denominator is the same. The bottom number has to be the same, otherwise you cannot add or subtract fractions. So in this case, the denominator is already the same. It is in both cases 3, and that means we can just add the numerators. 5 plus 8 is 13, and keep the denominator, 3, and that's it. Very simple. But what if the denominators are not the same? For example, 5/6 plus 3/4. Now we have to find the common denominator. This one is 6, this one is 4. So we use 12 as our denominator because 6 times 2 is 12, and 4 times 3 is also 12. That means we have to multiply this fraction with 2, both the top number and the bottom number. That is then 10/12 plus, and the second fraction we have to multiply by 3, both top and bottom number, which is 9/12. Now we have two fractions that share the same denominator, so we keep the denominator just as we did here, and we add the top numbers. 10 plus 9 is 19, and that's it. Next case is when we have a fraction plus an integer. So again, just as we did before with our multiplication and division, we convert the whole number into a fraction. And now we have the same problem as before. We have two different denominators. That means we have to multiply this one by 8. The first fraction we leave, we keep it as it is, and the second fraction we multiply both top and bottom number by 8, and that is then 32/8, and then again we add, which is 35, and the denominator we keep, 35/8. So that is addition of fractions, and subtraction of fractions is much the same. So that is why I will just give a small example here, because it's essentially the same, just you have to calculate minus instead of plus. Now we seek the same denominator, which is 15. So we have 150/15 minus 12/15, and then 150 minus 12 is 138/15, and that's it.